Welcome to another episode of the Learning Journey podcast. Wayne Heinsohn is my name, your host once again, as today we record in Cairns, and our guest is Andrew Jenkins, who joins us. Hey Andrew, welcome to the Learning Journey.
Thanks Wayne, good to be here.
Now, some people will know you and some people won't know you, so let's start with job title and what does it mean?
Yeah, good. So my official job role inside of MAF International is Manager of Flight Training. So that role is part of the Flight Ops Department and is responsible for the oversight of crew training and proficiency. So the scope of that is all of the professional flight training that happens inside of MAF. I have kind of relationship with our training providers, but really responsibility for a technical evaluation of our new pilots and then their standardisation training and then their ongoing professional training once they get into program.
So does the responsibility of a role like that, does it weigh on you at all? You know, because I'm going to say every role within MAFI is important to the organisation because it all mixes together.
Yeah, that's right.
But, you know, you're very much at the front line in terms of future pilots.
It doesn't weigh super heavily on me. I mean, I respect the role and I respect the responsibility, but I'm not alone. I'm surrounded by an amazing group of really talented, really wonderful team. So I'm not doing any of that stuff on my own. And I feel really supported.
Can you talk to us about teamwork? Because I think in any organisation, whether it's an organisation the size of MAF or whether it's a small church and everything in between and, you know, over and above that, teamwork is so very, very important.
Yeah.
And it's very much a kingdom principle.
Yes.
So talk to us in your role in terms of the importance of that team dynamic and the team working together.
Yeah, so the Flight Standards and Training team is a multidisciplinary team. We oversight the development of standards, and I work with Dave Pearce. Dave Pearce is the manager of Flight Standards. We basically co-manage a diverse multidisciplinary team. So the members of the Flight Standards and Training team, we've got people whose area of oversight, for example, is pre-program training. Another person, their area of oversight is the standards for the single-engine turbine fleet. And so they've all got areas of particular oversight, but all of them work together to deliver the training and standards as it's required. So it's very, very important that we're all working together, and it's very important that we all know where each other is at and what we're up to. One of the important things that we've really driven in the team is we're not overly reliant on a single individual. Yeah. So because we're multidisciplinary, because multiple people could do the same task, it means we're not reliant on a single individual. Some teams are structured so that there's a very clear leader, like an authoritative figure, a hierarchical team. I run left of centre on all of this. My ideal team would be that we were looking, all standing around a task or function or activity, and we all contribute to that, whatever our role or giftedness is. So one might be needing to manage the functions of the other team member. Another team member will be looking to develop a standard related to that thing. Another team member might be delivering some training to the people who need to use that thing. But we're all kind of gathered around the one idea or the one concept and looking to bring an outcome from it. So when I visualize a team, that's kind of what I'm doing. It's not a hierarchy, it's not even a flat plane, so to speak, but it's the individuals of the team gathered around the idea or output in order to and contributing whatever they've got to make it happen.
Yeah, and for those listening, Andrew's very much using his hands to demonstrate that. I appreciate you can't hear it, but there's a lot of detail there.
There's activity going on the tabletop.
There absolutely is. Hey, talk to us, Andrew. You mentioned, you know, everyone's standing around as a team.
Yeah.
What have you learnt from the one person who maybe stands back a little bit and is reluctant to engage in that team environment? Because often in teams, and I've been that person, you know, in teams at times, where there's a person who generally stands back. What have you learnt about sort of encouraging that person to step into that team environment?
I think it's really important to give everybody the opportunity, and I think for the people who don't walk into a space that's created for them, I think it's important to invite them. They still might not have anything that they want to say. They might not have anything that they want to contribute. But very often the one who is standing back is able to see something that the rest of us can't. We were talking before about introversion and extroversion. Personality-wise, I'm very much an introvert, and in many of the settings that I've been in, I would be the person standing back. It's just been a real blessing when I've been invited in. And again, sometimes I have something to contribute, sometimes not. But just to create an opportunity for everyone, I believe is going to give us the best results. Yeah. I really believe that we're better together, and that diversity of thought and diversity of passion and even diversity of belief doesn't need to be divisive. But if we're open to each other, then I think there's a richness there, and we all benefit from each other's points of view, and we grow broader and deeper, richer and stronger because we're different. And that's been a really important part of our outlook as we've tried to develop the team, is to make space for difference and to bring people in. Within our team, we've got people who are, if you thought of someone who was a very typical kind of standards developer, tends to see things in black and white, in the binary. So we have those people. And then there are people who are more like myself, probably, who see things on a spectrum of colour, very comfortable without the black and whiteness. And actually, we believe that we do things better, and we bring a better outcome for the organisation because we have those multiple perspectives represented within the team. And we've gone out of our way to make sure that as we're recruiting new people into the team, that we're looking at our team and we're not looking for homogeny. As we're looking to recruit people in, we're actually looking for a diverse way of seeing things because we value the richness of the diversity. That's been a very intentional thing.
Because often people see like disagreement or a difference of opinion as a negative, and what they're looking for is, we all need to be on the same page.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation last week with one of my colleagues here at MAF, and we were saying, I think as long as the aim is to get to the best outcome, that often a variety of perspectives help you get to the best outcome, as opposed to everybody looking or thinking, at things the same way. So from your experience, do you have some tips where maybe there's a manager or someone in a leadership role, this is a challenge for them, it's a struggle for them to actually allow a difference of opinion? Because some people really struggle with that. I've worked with a boss previously who really struggled with that. Was like, well, if you don't agree with me, then you're against me. And it's just I'm seeing something from a different perspective.
I genuinely believe that the posture that we bring towards each other is so important. And I am smiling at the moment because just this morning in the office, Dave Pearce and we share an office. We had a topic of conversation that we were gathered around, and we were sketching on the whiteboard, and the conversation was passionate. And it wasn't heated because we weren't getting angry or anything like that, but it was passionate, and we held very, very different points of view, and we were arguing strongly, passionately for our own points of view. And then one of the team members came in, and we're trying to explain to our team member, we really want you to be talking about this, we really want you to be including this in the training event. And I realised that I was arguing for David's point of view and David was arguing for my point of view. And I thought that was really beautiful because although we hold very different positions, yet we respect each other and honour each other enough to know that what the other is saying is really important and valuable and not to be discounted. I think that the posture that we hold towards each other is so critical. In a crucial conversation, in a critical conversation, where things could go in either direction, there's a huge temptation just to double down and think that my way is the right way and it's the only way. But actually, if we hold space for the other perspective and we truly believe the other person is coming with their best intent and with the best that they've got, And I don't believe at all that I have the whole picture. And I don't even believe that I necessarily have the right picture. All that I can offer is my best. And I believe that the other person is offering their best. And so my best combined with their best is going to bring about a better outcome.
Now, you mentioned the word passion. You're having passionate conversation with David.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the role of passion, and maybe this is new pilots coming in, or maybe it's, someone that's been in a plane for years and years. Where does passion fit into everything?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do the question justice, because I'm thinking on my feet a little bit with that question. I don't know that I've ever actually considered it, but just some comments maybe off the fly. I think that there are different passions that drive us. So there's a few things that I'm really passionate about. I'm passionate about flying. I love the intricacies of flying. I love the technicalities of flying. I love understanding why things work. I love understanding the interaction between the physical aeroplane and the physics of the air in which it's operating. I love understanding some of the academia behind it. I'm also passionate about Jesus and following him in his way and growing in understanding of that and growing in the discipline and practice of that. So I'm really passionate about that. And I'm passionate about bringing the good news of the kingdom of Jesus Christ to the people who are least likely to be able to hear it any other way.
Yeah.
And so for me, in MAF, many of my passions align. And MAF is a great vehicle for me to be able to engage passionately in this world. But again, I think this is an area where we're better together, and it's not good for me to assume that the things that I'm really passionate about are the same things that are going to drive and motivate my students or our pilots. And for a trainer, it's always better if you not only fully believe in the material that you're delivering, but you're also taking time to understand your learner. What are their passions? What are their motivations? Why are they motivated to do what they're doing, and how is the material that you're going to deliver to them going to speak to that passion, going to enable that, operationalize that passion. I think very often we can just come to a training course with a level of assumption that because we know the benefit of the training outcome and because the company has decided that you need to do it, that you're motivated and ready to go. But actually, to be able to speak with meaning to an adult learner, you've really got to know what drives them and what their passions are.
Now, I've had the opportunity and benefit to actually sit in the simulator up at Mariba, and you were next to me. And I just want to say, first of all, you are a great trainer, because I sat in there feeling out of my comfort zone, but I reckon within about 30 seconds you made me feel comfortable and you took me through the process, and I walked away thinking, oh yeah, that was really, really good.
Good.
Yeah. So I wonder for you, in terms of, sitting down with someone like myself who isn't a pilot, sitting there in the simulator as an example, what's your approach in terms of that training?
That's a really good example. I can unpack exactly what I was doing there, because you and I had a couple of conversations before we ever got to there. And so I was establishing very early on your level of comfort with the whole thing, the level of knowledge that you were already coming with. So I don't want to assume that you know everything. I don't want to assume that you know nothing. So I'm trying to benchmark just to find out what things I have to explicitly cover and what things I can move through more quickly. But I'm also trying to ascertain what's your end goal. What do you want to accomplish? I'm really into the positive empowerment of the student or the learner, so that I understand that by the end of this session, this is what you want to be able to do. This is what you want to be able. This is how you want to have had your learning changed by the end of the session. So that's kind of really foundational. That's establishing where we are currently, and it's establishing where we're going to get to. And then we had about a half hour before we jumped in the sim where we just went over some theory, and I was telling you what different things were and what they did and how they worked. And what I'm doing on that journey is, now that we've benchmarked where we are and where we want to get to, now we're talking about how we're going to get there. That's a very intentional adult learning based approach. Where are we currently? Where do we need to get to? How are we going to get there? And then my goal in that session is to make sure that you're as comfortable as you can be, that you're as confident as you can be, and that you feel safe to explore. Because you're gonna do the learning. I'm not going to do that for you. I'm going to provide a space in which you can explore and you can learn. So human learning actually comes about through mistake making. We make errors, we recognize the outcome that we didn't want, and we rectify them. And someone who can make an error, recognize the negative outcome, and then rectify, that's a very powerful learning experience. So my role is to create a safe space for you to explore, be able to make mistakes, and feel supported as you rectify them.
Yeah. Well, my end goal was not to crash and get the plane on the ground. So I'm happy to say successfully I achieved that. So for me, that was success, was that take off, do the loops, come back down, planes in one piece.
Yeah, exactly.
For you as the trainer in that example, what does success look like for you?
That's an example of an overarching goal.
Yeah.
You didn't want to crash, but you also didn't want to embarrass yourself. But you also said to me that you really wanted to have an experience where you got to experience what the learning environment was like. You also wanted to have an experience where you saw what the controls did and how the airplane functioned. So you had this overarching goal of I don't want to crash, but you also expressed a few other goals along the way. And so they are what form the basis of my goal for the session. So there's always going to be formal outcomes. There's always going to be formal learning requirements. There's always going to be informal learning desires. And there's always going to be development need from the last session. And so deciding on what success looks like is a combination of all of those things.
Yeah. I wonder if I can turn the tables a little bit and just ask you, how can a learner prepare for a training session? Like, what would you like to see from a learner? I lectured at university for a number of years, and some students came in, they were eager, they wanted to learn, so there was a hunger for learning. And others, it was almost like you got to drag them through the door and get them on the seat because for whatever reason, they just don't want to be there. So how does it help a trainer? And this is your experience, but I'm thinking of other people involved in training or learning of some description. What can a learner do to help their instructor, their trainer?
I often think in terms of core principles. And so for me, a core principle or a core attitude that we really want to see throughout the whole organisation is a posture of continual learning. So we really encourage our pilots to have an attitude which is, I want to continue to learn. We want pilots to be curious. And I'm talking about pilots particularly because that's my area of speciality and that's my area of responsibility. But I think it's probably true right across the organisation. We want people to be curious about their operating environment, curious about their technical expertise, curious about their own development. A growth mindset enables you to have challenging conversations that you're not seeing as criticism or put downs, but you're seeing as opportunities for development. So people coming in motivated to learn, understanding how the learning that they're going through is going to facilitate their own development and growth. I hesitate to use the word expectation, but that's the hope that I would have as I encounter someone coming onto a training course is that pilot is coming hungry to learn. Our responsibility as a training department is to provide training that is relevant and timely, and taking the time to understand the learner so that we understand what their motivations are.
Sadly, Andrew, our time is up. I can't believe it's 20 minutes has gone already. I feel like we've just started the conversation, but I want to finish with this. I'm curious what you're curious about.
I mean, I'm curious about life. I have a huge curiosity, and learner is one of the top 5 strengths on the Strength Finders thing that we've all done within the last few years. So I'm curious about everything. And something that I'm continuously amazed by and curious about is just the way that language informs practice and culture, and how we can use the same language about things, but the term means something else to somebody else. So I can use a term with someone from a program, and to someone from another program, the same term has quite a different meaning. So I'm just really curious about the use of language and what we're doing to develop a common shared language.
Fantastic. I've loved our chat, Andrew.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Learning Journey podcast.
It's felt like a chat and not an interview, just exactly like you said it would be.
Yeah, I try my best.
Thanks.
A big thank you to Andrew Jenkins, our guest on the Learning Journey today. It was great to hear Andrew's heart for learning and his process when it comes to training someone inexperienced like me. Now, as Andrew mentioned, one of the goals in MAF is to create a culture of continuous learning. And this podcast is just one tool that we use in L&D to do that. There's other resources available like Elevate, Good Practice, Right Now Media, and our SharePoint pages. They're all available so that we can equip you to be engaged, motivated, and productive while using your God-given talents every day. And if there's something further we can do to assist you or your team, please let us know by emailing learning.development@mafint.org. That's learning.development@mafint.org. Now, next episode of The Learning Journey, we talk with Wek Chol. He's the Ground Ops Manager in South Sudan, and he shares his learning journey working through the current humanitarian crisis. Looking forward to your company then.